Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to address a question that is shaking geopolitics in 2025. Why is America openly siding with Pakistan over India? On the surface, this decision may seem confusing, even illogical, because India has emerged as a global power, a leader in technology, defense, and economics. Yet the United States, a nation that prides itself on being the world's superpower, is leaning toward Pakistan once again. To understand this, we need to look deeper, not just at politics, but at strategy, history, and hidden interests. America's choices are not always about friendship. They are about leverage, influence, and survival in a shifting world order. So let's break down the 6 key reasons behind this move. When you look at the relationship between America and India in 2025, the first truth you need to understand is that America is not interested in friendship for the sake of friendship. It is interested in control. America sees India rising in a way no one thought possible 20 years ago. India is not just a developing country anymore. It is a global competitor. Its economy is expanding at a pace that shocks Washington. Its military is modernizing faster than anyone predicted, with homegrown missiles, aircraft, and defense systems that are matching the capabilities of even the West. Its space program is breaking barriers. Its digital economy is redefining the global tech market. And its alliances are no longer centered around America. For the United States, this is not just a story of a partner's success. It is a warning bell. America has always been comfortable with India when India was weaker, when India needed loans, aid, or Western approval to move forward. But the moment India became strong enough to stand on its own, Washington started to change its tone. And the fastest way to remind India of its place is to pick up Pakistan, dust it off, and use it as a balancing card. This has been the American playbook for decades. Whenever a nation rises too high outside of US influence, America does not openly fight it. It surrounds it with pressure points. For China, it uses Taiwan and Japan. For Russia, it uses Ukraine and NATO. For India, the most convenient pressure point is Pakistan. India is a billion-strong democracy, deeply nationalistic and strategically independent. America knows that direct confrontation with India is dangerous because India is not a country that bows down easily. So instead of clashing head on, America uses Pakistan to create constant irritation, constant distraction, and constant instability in the region. This way, India has to split its focus, spending energy on defense, border disputes, and counter-terrorism, rather than putting all its power into growing globally. America's choice to side with Pakistan is not about seeing Pakistan as stronger or more reliable. It is about leverage. Imagine you are sitting at a poker table. One player is winning big, taking control of the game. What do? You take the weakest player at the table and you start boosting them up, not because you believe they can win, but because you want to slow down the real winner. That is exactly how America views Pakistan in relation to India. By giving Pakistan some military aid, some diplomatic attention, some headlines in the international media, Washington makes sure India never gets too comfortable in its rise. They want India to know, you may be growing, but we still hold the cards to make your neighborhood unstable at any moment. That fear, that uncertainty, is what America relies on to maintain influence. This balancing act also has a psychological dimension. India is a nation that carries the weight of history, of centuries of colonization and struggle. Today, when India is finally asserting its pride and power, America cannot let it feel untouchable. By siding with Pakistan, America tries to inject doubt into India's confidence. It's almost like a power move, a reminder that you're not beyond our reach. But here's where the calculation becomes dangerous for America. India in 2025 is not India of the 1990s. It is not desperate for Western validation. It has its own alliances with Russia, with the Middle East, with Africa, and with Southeast Asia. It has trade routes, currency agreements, and a population that believes in self-reliance. So America's attempt to balance is being met with quiet resistance. India sees through the strategy and understands that Pakistan is not really a partner for Washington, but simply a pawn on the chessboard of global politics. The deeper you look, the clearer it becomes that America cannot afford India to become another China, an independent power that challenges the dollar, NATO, and Western dominance. That is the real fear hidden behind this so-called support for Pakistan. America doesn't side with Pakistan because it trusts Pakistan. It sides with Pakistan because it fears India's independence. And the irony is, the more America uses this tactic, the more it pushes India further away, strengthening India's resolve to never be controlled again. When we talk about why America is siding with Pakistan over India in 2025, one of the most critical reasons is geography. You see, politics may change, leaders may change, alliances may shift, but geography never moves. And Pakistan's location on the world map has always been its biggest weapon. It sits at a very unique and sensitive crossroad that connects South Asia, Central Asia, the Middle East, and China. This is not just a line on a map. It is a gateway to trade routes, oil pipelines, military access, and intelligence networks. For America, which has military interests stretched across the globe, Pakistan's geography is like a key that opens multiple doors. India may be more powerful, richer, and more advanced, but Pakistan offers something that cannot be built overnight. Strategic positioning. Think about it this way. Pakistan shares borders with Afghanistan, China, Iran, and India. This single fact alone makes it a hotspot for global strategy. When America needed to fight in Afghanistan, it used Pakistan's routes, airspace, and intelligence as lifelines. When America needed to keep an eye on Iran's activities, Pakistan's location allowed surveillance and monitoring. When it comes to China, Pakistan literally sits right next to Xinjiang, which is one of the most sensitive regions for Beijing. And when it comes to India, Pakistan is the permanent neighbor that can always create pressure. Geography has given Pakistan the role of a middleman in every major conflict and alliance in the region. America knows this very well, and even if Pakistan is politically unstable or economically weak, its land still matters more than its leaders. Now in 2025, this geography has become even more valuable. With China expanding its Belt and Road Initiative, the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor has turned Pakistan into a bridge between Beijing and the Arabian Sea. America sees this as both a threat and an opportunity. On one hand, China's influence in Pakistan is growing, and that worries Washington. On the other hand, by throwing support behind Pakistan, America tries to slow down China's grip and maintain some leverage in that corridor. In a way, Pakistan is like a contested highway. Whoever controls its routes controls the flow of goods, resources, and influence across Asia. America cannot afford to lose access to that, even if it means angering India. And then there is the Middle East factor. Pakistan is one of the closest Muslim majority nuclear powers to the Gulf. Its proximity to Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and the Strait of Hormuz makes it valuable for America's oil politics. The US military has always had a heavy presence in the Middle East, and Pakistan's ports and land roads provide backup access if things go wrong elsewhere. Gwadar Port, for example, has the potential to be a game changer. If America loses influence there to China, it loses a major strategic advantage. So Washington plays its old game, pouring aid, offering weapons, and giving diplomatic support to Pakistan, just to make sure the door doesn't close completely. What India needs to understand is that this is not about Pakistan's strength. It is about Pakistan's location. No matter how much America talks about democracy or partnership, when it comes down to raw power politics, geography speaks louder than values. Pakistan is the piece on the board that America can move to irritate India. Watch China monitor Iran and influence Afghanistan all at the same time. That kind of utility is rare, and America does not want to give it up. This is why Washington keeps returning to Pakistan again and again, no matter how many times the relationship breaks. Because in the end, location is permanent leverage, but here is where the irony kicks in. Pakistan's geography makes it important, but it also makes it trapped. America's interest in Pakistan is never about developing the country or helping its people. It is about using its land as a passage, a base, or a pawn in bigger games. Every time America sides with Pakistan, it is less about genuine support and more about exploiting its position. For India, this becomes a frustrating reality. Despite building real strength through technology, economy, and diplomacy, it still finds America playing this geographic card to undermine its rise. That is why India sees America's tilt not as friendship with Pakistan, but as a move against India's independence. If you strip away all the diplomatic words, what remains is very clear. Pakistan is valuable to America because it sits in the right place, not because it does the right things. In 2025, as India grows into a superpower, America is holding on to Pakistan not out of loyalty, but out of necessity. And that necessity is written into the map itself, a reminder that in geopolitics, land can sometimes be more powerful than weapons or even people. When you look back at the history of America and Pakistan, you begin to see a pattern that repeats itself again and again. America has always treated Pakistan like a tool, not a partner. This is what I mean when I say it is America's old habit of using Pakistan. From the earliest days of the Cold War, Washington saw Pakistan as a convenient ally, not because of shared values, not because of democracy, not because of economic potential, but because Pakistan was always willing to play the role of the middleman in America's bigger plans. When the Soviet Union was expanding, America armed and funded Pakistan to serve as the frontline state against communism. Billions of dollars in aid, weapons, and intelligence flowed into Pakistan, not to build its nation, but to use it as a launchpad for operations in Afghanistan and surrounding regions. Pakistan became a pawn, and America became the player. That habit did not disappear with time. It simply evolved with each new conflict. Fast forward to the war on terror after 9/11, and you see the same story. America needed quick access to Afghanistan, and again Pakistan's geography and intelligence networks became useful. Washington poured in military aid, propped up Pakistan's army, and looked the other way whenever the country played double games. Everyone knew that elements within Pakistan were harboring the same groups that America was supposedly fighting, but because Washington needed supply routes and bases, it tolerated the duplicity. This is the essence of how America deals with Pakistan. Not trust, not respect, but temporary utility. And every time the relationship strains, every time Pakistan gets exposed, America does not walk away. It resets the cycle, repackages the aid, and continues using Pakistan as a short-term partner for long-term goals. Now in 2025, nothing has changed in that habit. America knows Pakistan is politically unstable, knows its economy is struggling, knows it has ties with groups that Washington would never publicly endorse, but still keeps siding with it when convenient. Why? Because it is easier for America to recycle this old alliance than to let it go. America understands Pakistan's weaknesses, and in geopolitics, weaknesses are leverage. When a country is unstable, you can manipulate it. When a country is desperate for aid, you can buy its loyalty. When a country's elite depend on foreign backing, you can control their decisions. Pakistan fits that mold perfectly, and America has mastered the art of pressing those buttons whenever it needs influence in South Asia. But here's the twist. America doesn't do this because it loves Pakistan. It does it because it wants to limit India. By keeping Pakistan alive on international aid and attention, America ensures that India never has a calm neighborhood. Imagine India with no Pakistan problem. It could direct all its resources into dominating global trade, technology, and defense without distraction. America doesn't want that. It prefers to keep India busy on its borders, dealing with terrorism, skirmishes, and diplomatic headaches. That way, India's energy is split and its rise is slowed. Pakistan is simply the instrument to achieve this. It is the same habit of using Pakistan, but now with India as the bigger target. This repeated cycle also shows how America values short-term advantage over long-term stability. By constantly pumping resources into Pakistan's military rather than its people, America has created a state that survives on dependency instead of development. And yet, Washington continues this pattern because it serves immediate goals. Need to monitor China? Use Pakistan. Need to watch Iran? Use Pakistan. Need to put pressure on India? Use Pakistan. It is almost mechanical at this point, a reflex built into American foreign policy. The world changes, but the script remains the same: Pakistan as the tool. America as the master strategist, what makes this situation more complex in 2025 is that India is no longer blind to the game. In the past, India might have quietly accepted America's tilt toward Pakistan because it did not have the strength to resist. But now, with its economy booming, its military reaching new heights, and its global alliances expanding, India sees this habit for what it is, a deliberate strategy to keep it under check. And the more India resists, the more America doubles down on Pakistan, repeating the same cycle of use and discard, never truly caring about Pakistan's future, only about its position in America's bigger plans. So when people ask, why is America siding with Pakistan over India? The answer is not hidden in today's headlines. It is written in decades of history. America has always used Pakistan when convenient, discarded it when no longer useful, and then returned to it when the next conflict demanded it. That habit has become so ingrained that even in 2025, when India stands as a rising power, Washington cannot let go of the old tool. It keeps Pakistan in its pocket, not because it believes in Pakistan, but because it knows that as long as Pakistan is in play, India will never have complete peace. This is the cycle, this is the habit, and this is why America keeps making the same move again and again. When we examine why America is leaning toward Pakistan instead of India in 2025, one of the biggest reasons hiding beneath the surface is fear. It is not fear of Pakistan's strength, but fear of India's alliances, especially India's growing closeness with Russia, Brics, and the new trade systems that are rising outside the shadow of the US dollar. For decades, America has ruled the global economy through its currency and its financial networks. The dollar was not just money, it was power. Nations that wanted to trade oil, gas, or technology to pass through the American system. SCFT networks, IMF loans, World Bank structures. Almost everything was designed to keep the US at the center. But in the last few years, India has started rewriting that game by working with Russia, China, Brazil, and South Africa through Brics. India is openly supporting the idea of trade in local currencies, alternatives to WFT, and financial independence from Washington's grip. For America, this is a red flag, a signal that one of the largest economies in the world is no longer willing to play by old rules. This shift is not just economic. It carries deep geopolitical meaning. When India buys oil from Russia in rupees instead of dollars, it is more than a transaction. It is a declaration that Washington's sanctions cannot dictate India's choices. When India invests in African nations through Brics projects, it shows that development is possible without Western approval. When India collaborates with Russia on defense technology, it signals that US weapons are not the only option. Each of these moves chips away at the monopoly America once enjoyed, and each step increases Washington's insecurity. That is why America sides with Pakistan. It is a pressure tactic, a reminder to India that if it dares to walk too far away from the dollar system or from Western influence, it will not do so without consequences. By empowering Pakistan, Washington tries to create an external problem big enough to force India to slow down its independent march. Think about how this works in practice. Every time India strengthens its ties with Russia, whether in energy, defense, or space, America suddenly announces new aid packages for Pakistan, or pushes international organizations to speak about Kashmir, or sells military equipment to Islamabad. It is not coincidence, it is calculation. America knows it cannot stop India from working with Russia, but it can raise the cost of that decision by fueling instability in the neighborhood. It is like placing roadblocks on a highway. India can still reach its destination, but the journey becomes longer, harder, and more expensive. And from America's perspective, that delay is valuable because it buys time to protect its own influence. Brics itself is one of the main reasons Washington is nervous. The group is not just a talk club anymore. In 2025, it has expanded into a real financial and political force, with new members joining, with discussions about a BRICS currency, and with trade settlements bypassing the dollar. Brises is openly challenging America's economic order. India, with its massive market and growing global reputation, is at the center of this movement. Without India, Brises would lack legitimacy in the democratic world. With India, Brise becomes powerful enough to attract nations from Africa, Asia, and Latin America who are tired of being dictated to by Western banks. That is why America cannot tolerate India's deepening role in this group. Supporting Pakistan becomes a counter move not because Pakistan has anything to do with Brises, but because destabilizing India is the only way to slow down its leadership role in this alternative system. Russia is another part of this equation. Historically, India and Russia have always been close partners, but after the Ukraine war, when most of the West turned its back on Moscow, India did not join the sanctions. Instead, it increased trade, buying discounted oil and paying in non-dollar currencies. This was a shock to Washington. It expected India to fall in line, but India chose independence. That independence set a dangerous example for other nations. If India can defy America and survive, maybe they can too. To counter that message, Washington needs a way to keep India distracted. Enter Pakistan, once again being lifted up not as a real partner, but as a tool to remind India that straying too far from America has a price. This dynamic reveals something very important about America's mindset. It is not focused on friendship, it is focused on control. It cannot openly punish India because India is too strong and too valuable, but it can irritate India through Pakistan. It cannot stop Brise from growing, but it can slow down India's ability to fully commit. It cannot break the Russia-India bond, but it can make sure India spends billions defending itself on the border rather than investing those billions into new trade systems. Everything connects back to fear. Fear of losing the dollar's dominance, fear of losing global leadership, fear of watching India become the example that other nations follow. The irony is, this fear-driven strategy may end up backfiring. The more America sides with Pakistan, the more India hardens its resolve to never depend on Washington again. The more America pressures India over Russia, the more India invests in alternative systems. The more America blocks India through short-term tactics, the more determined India becomes to play the long game. By trying to slow India down, Washington is actually fueling India's hunger to stand tall without permission. That is the risk America faces. But in 2025, it continues to play the same game, unable to let go of its old habit of using Pakistan as a lever against a rising power, one of the less obvious but very powerful reasons. America keeps siding with Pakistan over India in 2025 is the military business and the dependency that comes with it. For America, war and defense are not just about strategy, they are also about money. The United States has the largest arms industry in the world, and a big part of its global influence comes from selling weapons and military technology. Whenever America builds alliances, you will always find defense contracts hiding in the background. Pakistan has been one of Washington's biggest long-term clients in this business. From fighter jets to tanks, from missile systems to training programs, Pakistan's army has survived for decades on American supplies. This dependency is no accident. America designed it that way. By giving Pakistan billions in military aid, Washington not only ensures Pakistan's loyalty, but also creates a cycle where Pakistan cannot function without US equipment. And every time that dependency grows, so does America's leverage.